Well, hey everyone, good Saturday afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Bowling with the Pfeff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live here on our YouTube channel. I think this is history going down once again. I don't think we've ever done a show on a Saturday, but hey, that's, sometimes schedules, make you switch days. And I'll tell you what, having the live format that we do is something that I kind of give up consistency as far as having the same time, same day each week. I think it's a worthy swap because I love having the live format. Love hearing what those of you who tune in have to say about our shows. And thanks to you who are joining us live and those of you on replay as well. The live chat is open for those of you who are on live right now. And if you are on the replay version, you can leave a comment. I'll see it, and I will hope to get you some answers to your questions if you have them. But welcome either way. If you saw our last episode, episode 78, you know that there was a big event between then and now. It was a watch party at Village Bowl in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I unfortunately couldn't make it there. It's about 200 miles from me. Middle of the week, had a few commitments around here, but I'm going to try to give you a synopsis of what happened, even though I wasn't there to see it firsthand. Glad to see Derek there tuning in live. And here we go. So here's a picture from State that you saw on the show of Team Serbskis. Thanks to Todd Filter for providing me with some of these photos from the event. This you can see some of them gathering up to watch the show. They did watch a recorded version of episode 78 on Wednesday evening. 618 was a pretty popular number around there. Reason being is because our most watched live show at that time had 617 views, and Team Serbsky had the goal of getting enough views so they could overtake that show and be the top viewed live show in Bowling with the Pfeff history. They did during the watch party. Filter told me there was a roar when they went over the number. So a big congratulations to them for getting folks to tune in and watch the show. Todd said he wasn't really sure what was going on here, with the drawing of my face and all that, but it was evident as Pete Serbiak shows us in his group picture that was quite the poster on poster board up above that huge group of folks who were over at Village Bowl, Menominee Falls. Thank you so much for those of you who put that together, those of you who attended. I want to say it was a great time. It certainly looks like a great time. Like I said, wasn't there firsthand, but it certainly looks like everybody had a ball. And that really warms my heart. I mean, I've never really thought about this as the topic of a watch party, but it was a great idea from Team Serbskis, and I'm glad they were able to carry it through to completion. Right now, the USBC Senior Masters is going on. I couldn't really tell you the current standings right now. What I can tell you is about Pete Weber. Pete Weber was tearing it up in this tournament, and now he's out of the competition. You may have seen reports on social media that he was disqualified from the event in a social media post that has since been deleted. He said he was disqualified for defending himself against a heckler. Bowler's Journal reported that he was DQ'd for a code of conduct violation. If you're interested in seeing more about excuse me, about this. There is an excellent article on the 11thframe.com from Jeff Riggles. Really gives kind of the current synopsis of what we know, what we don't, and fantastic article as usual. So hashtag buy the blog and check out the latest on the Pete Weber situation, as well as all kinds of other stuff in the current state of bowling at really a multitude of levels. Well, if you know this show, you know that Chip Magnet is a big supporter. They are a family business right down the road. Eau Claire, Wisconsin is where it originates from. Here are two of my favorites, Wildly Delicious and Mango Habanero. They make a bunch of different flavors. They deliver to, or distribute, I should say, to 38 states and Canada. Those of you in Chattanooga, Tennessee can find it at any Food City location. And if you can't find it in your neighborhood store, that's okay. Go to chipmagnetsalsa.com. They are ready to take your order. Let your fingers do the walking for the best salsa out there. You know where to turn. Chip Magnet, raise your snack standards. If you have ever been called a house hack, perhaps that wasn't the biggest term of endearment. However, my guest today embraces that term. He and his buddy have a terrific channel called House Hack Bowling. So we are proud to bring on from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Austin Lockhart, half of the content producing duo you hopefully know and love as House Hack Bowling. If you don't, check it out. Subscribe today. You will not be disappointed. Austin, how you doing today?
Doing good, and I don't really hope to disappoint anybody, but you never know. People are weird.
There's all types. There's one in every crowd.
That's right.
You had a great video that just went up on the channel, and I'll pull it up here so people can kind of get a feel for what it looks like.
Mhm.
And basically, the two of you, you and Matt Giuliani,
Yep.
have a match, and I don't know if you can see my cursor right here,
Mhm.
off to the left, where both of you bowled with no thumb.
Yep, we did. I just put it out today. I haven't even shared it anywhere yet. I literally just put it up.
See that hey, if you subscribe and you hit the notification bell, then you'll be one of the first to know, just like me. But that was kind of cool. Where how did that idea come about?
So me and Mac try to go and do all sorts of different kind of videos along with like ball reviews and stuff like that. And we got to the point to where like ball reviews are cool and all, but you get kind of burnt out after a while. So now we kind of like venture off into different avenues. And the idea of doing a no thumb matches, because like before we started House at Bowling, we would always go bowling like Friday or Saturday night, like during Cosmic, just kind of play around. And he got pretty good at the just using no thumb and just letting it go. And I used to two hand back in the day. So it was just like, hey, let's just do a video. Let's see how it works. It's definitely not our most thought out video we've ever done, but I thought it's entertaining enough.
Yeah. And sometimes that's all that matters. I mean, it's tough to find kind of the secret sauce of what makes one video really click versus another, right?
And bowling, no, it's still kind of a growing content challenge, I guess, because I feel like we're in this renaissance right now of bowling content where like 3-4 years ago, all there was ball reviews. Now people are out there like the Brad and Kyles, the Packy Hanrahan, Darren Tang, even like Chris Barnes, Beef Stew. They're venturing off and they're doing different things besides just actual bowling itself. So it's no one really knows what works and doesn't work. Everybody has their thing, but there's no telling how long that can go.
Yeah.
Or how far, I should say.
Yeah, and it changes every day. Caught a comment here from Mark Ignatowski from the Serbskis team. Thank you, really appreciate the support. So you guys have this channel, and I'm going to try and pull it up again because I want to make note of the subscriber count. 980 is a great number because you are kind of on the cusp of 1,000, which, as many of us know, is the key to getting into the partnership program. Has that been a goal of yours?
When we first started, it was, but I'm not going to lie, like YouTube is, even though it's something that I really want to pursue and get kind of further in, YouTube kind of took a little back burner for, say, 4 or 5 months. and we kind of been focusing on other avenues. But I would still love to get to 1,000.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well.
I mean, if it happens, it happens. I'm sure it'll happen probably in the next week or two because we're super close as it is. Because we was at like 800 like a month ago.
Oh wow. Okay. So certainly on a good trajectory toward the number 1,000.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of recent times, you shot the USBC Open Championships, and while you were there, you put out some videos, basically getting coaching lessons from one of the greatest to ever do it, Mike Jasnow.
Yeah.
How did that go for you?
At first, it was kind of, I don't want to say nerve-wracking because it's not like I was really. If it didn't really matter what happened when I was there, I was still going to leave with basically the same thing I had on my back. Like nothing was going to happen, but I was kind of like nervous on like, am I actually going to get what I think this is worth? And I honestly believe I did. Over the years, I've never really had like coaching, I guess. Mm-hmm. I've kind of been self-taught from like people here and there, and then like mainly just like learning the game for myself, and then I've always had these little issues in my game that I've never been known how to fix. I know what they are. I just don't know how to fix it. And then Jasnow saw me throw a shot like 4 or 5 times. And he said, okay, this is your problem. You got to do this, and it'll lead to that. And it's just crazy how like dead on he really is. But I guess when you do it for a living, it does make a bit more sense. But it was just a surreal process, really.
Yeah, I believe it. I reached out to him and asked him, what he thought, post lesson, for the sake of context, really.
Yeah.
He said that he can tell me that you were great during the session. You came in because you want to get better and wanted to know what to work on and how to work on it. Yeah. He said just in the hour that he had with you, you worked on cleaning up a few things with footwork, alignment, and swing. He said you understood what you guys were doing and why, and that you've got some work ahead of you. But if you're willing to put the time in, you'll become a much more consistent and effective bowler. So I guess what that says to me is there's a lot of potential there if you're willing to do your part, right?
Yeah, man. I feel like with bowling, though, like if you really put in the time and you go to the right resources or whatever, you can become a great bowler. I mean, I guess that could be done with anything, but I thought with bowling, especially, if you just put the work in, you can do it.
Yeah, for sure.
But I expected Jasnow to say a lot more harsh things when he said he reached out to him. Jasnow is a super cool person. He made me laugh during most of the session, and like he's real easy to cut up with. So I was expecting something like out there.
Would you consider him to be kind of almost a tough love guy, or does he have a softer side?
So when I first got there, he was kind of like reserved and like I guess trying to feel out the situation because like I'm not a very super serious guy to begin with. I love cutting up with people, and I think he kind of caught on to that. So he kind of gave back what I gave him. Okay. And I was super open about like I know what I do. When I go to nationals, people tend to record me and like do like little things that are kind of different compared to most people. So like I'm pretty like it is what it is. Yeah. And I think he understood that.
Cool. Yeah. No, I think that was awesome that not only you had the chance to do that, but you helped kind of give us an understanding of what something like that is like, because although I'm sure he's very popular out there, there's a lot of folks out here in the Midwest that never get a chance to do something like that.
Oh, yeah, man. It's something that, like, I think if you could get to, say if you're going to the Nationals, he happens to be there, or even if you wanted to make the vacation to go out there wherever he's at, it's definitely something you need to look into if you're a bowler. Even if you don't feel like you need a lesson, just get a lesson with him. There's always little things here and there you can work out. It can be big, it can be small. Everyone needs coaching.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a great point. You, like all of us, have a bowling story that starts somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So let's kind of, reset, this bowling story back to the beginning. How'd you get started in this great sport of ours, and what were the circumstances behind that?
It's crazy. I feel like a lot of people have kind of a similar story, and I will go ahead and let you know now. My wife is about to walk through the door. I have a dog that does bark, so the second that she walks in, he'll go crazy and go.
No judgment.
It'll be done in like a couple of minutes. So when you start hearing a dog, don't be like alarmed or everyone go crazy after like, oh my God, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna let you know that now.
Sure.
But bowling story, I had grandparents that bowled. My parents didn't bowl, and me and my cousin, we were about the same age, and they really got us into bowling because our grandparents did it. And honestly, like growing up in the small town that I grew up in, I actually grew up outside of Chattanooga in a small town called Dunlap. It was an old 12 center. There you go. See,
there it is.
Yeah, I just want to make sure everyone knew that because it's all good. But anyway, like I said, so I grew up in a small town called Dunlap, Tennessee. It was a small 12-lane center, wood still, and it was open with the same lane service and everything until like 2011. So I grew up on that, and the highest average in that house from adult bowlers to youth bowlers, I think, was 182.
Oh, wow.
So it's very rare to see anyone with a high average to be that low. So going from that, and then like I live super close to Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's synthetic. I remember the first time that I actually bowled on synthetic lanes that I didn't know what to expect. None of my balls hooked. Everything just skid and slid. And it didn't matter what I did. I was like, this is like a whole new world to me. And I was like a teenager in 2010 who had never seen synthetic lanes before, which is wild to think of.
Yeah.
And so I bowled youth leagues from 2003 to like 2008 or so. And of course, you know how every kid growing up, you kind of get into other sports. So I kind of put bowling on the back burner, and I didn't really get back into it until I went in high school. My cousin.
Oh.
Am I good?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So my cousin was actually a grade ahead of me, and he was on the bowling team, and they basically didn't have a whole lot of people that were interested, and they wanted to actually have a pretty decent year. So I had some bowling knowledge, and it was like, hey, I really want you to bowl on the bowling team. And it's funny enough, our grandfather was actually one of the coaches. Oh. So like I didn't even have to try out. I was basically just like, yeah, just come out and bowl. And I was like, man, I don't know. So I thought about it, and then my cousin got my best friend at the time, Zach, into bowling. And I was like, well, if everyone's going to bowl, then I might as well try it out too. So I bowled in high school, and my freshman year, it was really great. I remember the first time I shot 200, which was my freshman year of high school. And a lot of people thought it's like, yeah, who cares? It's 200 game. Because a lot of people that came in and bowled us were from like way nicer bowling centers, and they all averaged at least the 180 to 200 range. So when they go to like our home center, which was all wood, all these old lane machines and wood approaches, they actually dreaded coming to us because like if you were going to get any ball damage anywhere, it was there.
That was it. Yeah.
So I did that for basically all of high school. My home center actually ended up closing down after my freshman year. So for me to bowl in high school, I had to travel to another town outside of Chattanooga called Dayton, and which was a 45-minute drive from our school. So like every day, I think we ended up, instead of doing it every day, we ended up doing like three days a week. I had to drive 45 minutes after school to Dayton to practice, and then 45 minutes back home just to be able to go home and go to school the next day.
Wow.
But it was a nicer center compared to what we grew up in. Still wasn't the greatest, but it was better. And honestly, bowling in high school kind of made me fall in love with it. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to, even though that I'm not that old, I'm like 26 years old. It's kind of all a blur to me because like I'm a very big creature of habit where like I like doing the same thing every week. So like the weeks kind of like blend together after a while.
Yeah. So
after my sophomore year, I kind of started to fall out of it. Like I bowled just because it was something I did. I didn't necessarily like want to go bowl. High school bowling just didn't seem fun to me. The youth leagues didn't sound fun to me. So I kind of just like, it was just part of life at that point.
Yeah.
And I didn't really fall back into love with bowling until I graduated. And then I started watching people like Brad and Kyle. They kind of really sparked my love back into bowling. And then fast forward, 2-3 years later, there we are. I'm doing house hat bowling, and basically my extracurricular life is revolved around bowling.
Yeah. Do you feel, looking back, that bowling is something that in those two different times when you fell in love with it, that you had to get to it, or did it come to you, like, kind of, you mentioned, through the social media?
Kind of both.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I grew up, I had family that kind of got me into it, so it came to me that way. And then when I wanted to actually bowl for real, I came to it.
Okay.
So it's very back and forth.
Yeah. Did you do tournaments as a youth bowler, or just the once a week league?
So I did Team Masters one year, my senior year.
Okay.
And it was the worst experience of my life. I was not ready for it, but I wanted to do it. I kind of want to go out with a big bang, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But like besides that, I did like some city youth tournaments and stuff like that. And it's funny because, like I said, in the center that I grew up in my freshman year, like I said, the high average was like 180. So in youth leagues, I averaged like $150, $160. Mm-hmm. And then when I did the city tournament, which was actually in Chattanooga where I live now, I had so much handicap. Like it was ridiculous how much I had. So like I basically ran away with every event that I bowled in my first year. After I kind of got used to it, I like my first game. I don't remember exactly what the score was or how much handicap was based off of or anything, but I remember my grandpa telling me, "You realize you shot 338 your first game with handicap?" And I said, "No, I didn't really." At that time, I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but looking back at it, I'm like, "Yeah, I'm sure they hated me."
I was going to say, competitive bowlers tend to frown upon things like that.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, and the Team Masters thing was kind of cool because I actually had to drive down to Lake. You can see me. Okay, there we go.
Yep.
So I had to drive down to Lake Wells, Florida, and bowl at Kegel for the Team Masters for the qualifying part. And I was doing so bad. All these kids from all these other places that came there were like, you can tell their life was bowling. And I thought I was a good bowler at that time, but looking back at it, I was so far behind everybody else. Yeah. The only memorable moment that I had was at this time, the extra frame was still around. Mm-hmm. And they streamed one pair of Team Masters. And I think it was like one of my last games. I was on that pair, and I probably had like, I don't know, the first 4 opens or whatever. And I left to Greek church. And I got so mad that I just slung it I'm right-handed, so I slung it at the 3. And I ended up dropping it and ended up going almost to the left gutter. But it cut just enough to where I actually ended up picking it up. But I played it off like, I know what I was doing.
And that doesn't get, done all that much, let alone captured on a live stream.
No, I tried to do everything I could to try to find like a recording of it and go back just so I could have it for myself, but I never could get it. It was the only thing I did. I'm pretty sure that I was in last place. I had to be. I was that much worse than everybody else.
Well, but they say either you win or you learn, right?
I don't know if I did. I don't know if I learned anything at that time. I don't think I really learned anything until I got into adult leagues, and then I started to understand more of the process.
Yeah. Take me through that transition. What was it like for you?
Well, I mean, really, adult leagues was kind of like a whole new world compared to what I was doing at the time. Like, I didn't really bowl anything competitive, team-wise at least, ever. And then, I mean, high school was one thing, but like, as competitive as like, I don't know, just getting a group of guys together and just meeting at a bowling alley and just bowling. I mean, I didn't get anything out of it. I didn't go bowl in college or anything. So like, it wasn't like I was like bowling high school to try to bowl in college. I was just bowling.
Sure.
So in league, I kind of got put on a team with a friend that I knew and with a bunch of guys I had no idea who they were. And then I bowled in a 5-man handicap league. It was the biggest league in town at that time. And I ended up falling in love with bowling because I liked being able to bowl against other people who knew what they were doing, were super competitive. I ended up being friends with a lot of them once the season was all said and done. But it was kind of eye-opening. Like, okay, so bowling isn't just necessarily something that you do in school or in your free time. Like, it can be a part of your life. even though it is just league. Some people kind of go a little too far into it, but I do like just being able to kind of have an escape,
Yeah.
Especially at that time.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I agree. It can serve a ton of purposes. It can be an outlet for, to kind of get rid of some excess rage if you really let it. But I mean, in the end, it's a great form of competition, great form of camaraderie. And, and something must have clicked there if you say you fell in love with it again, that got you kind of on this trajectory where you're starting to compete a little more, right?
Yeah, I mean, like bowling definitely changed my life in a lot of different ways. I met my wife through bowling. I met my best friends through bowling. I got close again with certain family members because of bowling. So it's just like a whole crazy thing to think about looking back at it.
Yeah, for sure. It looks to me like you had your first USBC sanctioned 300 in October of 2014 at Spare Time Chattanooga. Can you tell that I went through the little, find a member thing on the USBC website? What do you remember about that night?
It was actually my first year of bowling in adult leagues. I always wanted a 300 growing up, especially in high school, because before the bowling center that I grew up in, like the one in Dunn, Tennessee, the really small one, never had a 300 shot in it. Never. So I wanted to be that first one.
Yeah.
But I never ended up getting to do it. The bowling center ended up closing down and became a buffet of all things. Even still had the lanes in it, which is a very interesting story to talk about later if you want to get into that.
Oh.
But it was, I think, October or sometime. And I remember, and I don't know if where you found that has the whole entire set of what I bowled.
Yeah, I can't remember offhand either.
Well, I remember because of how bad it was.
Uh-oh.
So when I shot 300, before that, I actually bowled against Matt's team.
Okay.
And I shot like a 120.
Oh.
Because I was late. And I kind of just like threw. I shot 120, 180, 300.
Okay. 600 on the nose.
And on top of that, so in the 10th frame, first shot, dead flush, Brooklyn. And then left of Brooklyn. I don't even know what's left of Brooklyn, like in the actual map of things, but I could not believe they actually fell. It was that bad. It was a bit of nerves and just like, hold on.
Yeah. Pennsylvania, if you're looking at it on the wall, right?
There you go. I think my computer froze up. I'm going to have to log out and log back in, okay?
Okay. Yeah. All right. So while he does that, I can let you know about this pin that is over my shoulder here. You may have heard me talk about it before, but that is one that one of our previous guests, Steve Klemkin, sent in to me to kind of display. And if you know about Steve and his story with Storm, you can watch that episode. But he also runs a scholarship program called the Coach K Scholarship. And there is a website if you're interested in finding out more information about that, bit.ly/Coach K Scholarship. It is case sensitive, so make sure you capitalize the C and capitalize the K. But that pin that he sent, this is actually two pictures of the same pin, has autographs from Jason Belmonte and Kyle Troop and Jesper Svensson. So kind of a cool little trinket. But the Coach K Scholarship, which provides funds for, I believe it is, I know it's students from Wichita State University, and I believe the qualification is to have success academically in the classroom to qualify for the funding from that scholarship. So thank you, Coach K, for sending out that pin and beautifying our set just a little bit. We're going to bring Austin back in here.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, man.
That's
My
all right.
computer kind of goes through like a weird spells here and there.
That's okay. I was armed with a little filler. So you were talking about the 300 600 and how you had been left of Brooklyn, carried it. It must have been a thrill for you, I would imagine.
I was kind of more embarrassed, but yeah, I mean, looking back at it, 300, striking, who cares?
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of things that I think a lot of bowlers kind of like, especially depending on where you go and what circles you're in. they kind of focus too much on, well, how'd you do it? Who cares? You did it.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I was pretty, like I said, I was embarrassed, but looking back at it, it had to be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially get the monkey off my back.
Right. And that kind of thing, different circumstances, no matter who you are.
Exactly.
Derek says, when you have a second, Weber was not wrong with what he did. So, of course, he's alluding to
of course.
The disqualification that we mentioned earlier in the show. How about the 820 you had at Spare Time Hickson a couple of years later?
It was the summer league. I remember that. I was bowling with my little brother and Matt, I believe. I think he was actually my third member that year. I can't remember for sure.
Okay.
But it was on the end pair at the house that I'm bowl at now. And I remember I two-balled it. So a ball in each lane. And I didn't realize how close I was to 800 until like the 9th frame. And at that point, I already did it. So it was kind of cool. Like, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And 820 is a pretty – honestly, a lot of people that I talk to with like 800 stories, you either barely shoot 8 or you shoot like 820 or you do like a ridiculous score. 820 is kind of common, I feel like.
Yeah.
I guess just because of the way the math adds up. But, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to talk about because I don't really remember a whole lot of little things here and there. I remember what balls I was throwing. I remember the lane. I remember who I was bowling with. That's about it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I haven't done it since. So,
yeah. Okay.
I've been close, but it's been 800 is a lot harder than it looks, if anyone's wondering.
No, I feel you there because I have one. It's 800 on the nose and haven't gotten close since. And it's been about almost 20 years, almost 18 years. So yeah, cherish it when you get it.
Okay.
So we got to talk house hack bowling some more because this is about the time in your story when, we kind of ramp up to this point and it doesn't happen, at least not in the way that it is without Matt Giuliani. So tell me kind of how you guys, got together, forged this relationship and then built this channel.
Well, we actually ended up working together at the bowling center, the one that we bowl at and do most of our videos at. We worked together and we kind of just grew closer as friends at that point. And, just like we all kind of hang out with kind of the same people. Every time we go out of town, Matt's always with us. And every time that I traveled out of town for a tournament, Matt was always there. So it was like someone that I knew. And it was kind of like the rest of history at that point. Like we just kind of grew a friendship through bowling, but now it's bigger than bowling, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I mean, if anything, like Matt actually lives in the exact same apartment with me and my wife.
Okay.
So it makes content creating so much easier.
I bet.
I can just knock on his door back there where the light is. I'm like, hey, Matt. Oh, my God, I did it again.
Oh, you all right? Oh, still there? Oh. Looks like he's frozen up a little bit. Hopefully he gets back to us in a second here. Yeah, we might be in another deal where he logs out and logs back in to refresh the connection. But yeah. There he is. We got a couple of you now.
Yeah, this way I can make sure it gets done.
Well, let's remove that one.
Get one more thing that's a little easier.
Yeah, that's all right. So, all right. So you were talking about, about kind of forging this relationship with Matt, where you're living in the same apartment, makes content creating pretty easy. Is this something that, either you or he was versed in, or did you have to learn this on the fly?
Well, a little bit of both. I mean, like growing up, I was a artist. So like I was actually a rapper. So I made like music videos. Hold on, man.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, should be good now. All right.
Yeah,
so I was actually a rapper for a long time. I recorded, I did my own music. So like I had a basic general knowledge of like campaigning on social media. I had like an understanding of editing because I edited my own music videos and stuff. I went by the name Keith Austin. I still have a bunch of stuff up if anyone's interested. But so I understood the content creating game through making music. So at one point in time, Matt hit me up and was like, hey, I need to start doing ball videos through his contract with Columbia 300, which he's still signed with. And I said, yeah, I can help you out with there. Just kind of let me know when you want to do it. Never really kind of did anything with it. And then like after COVID, we kind of brought it up again. I said, all right, before we want to do it, I think we need to do it this way. I want to put it up under a different channel. You can still post it however you want to, still share however you want to, but I want to do it like this. And he completely agreed, which I'm glad he did, because it ended up creating what we got now, House at Bowling.
Yeah. So there's the caricature, and you can see that in your on your YouTube channel. So I did reach out to Matt and ask him about you and kind of what makes your partnership work. Are you still there? Oh, might have frozen up again. Oh, still there?
Yeah.
There we go.
Can you see me?
Okay. Yep. Yeah, I got you. All right.
Should be good. Yeah. What's up?
So I asked Matt, what makes your partnership work so well? And he called you the idea man. He said that you always have the good ideas for content that you just kind of keep coming up with every day and just keep it flowing.
Yep.
He calls you the major backbone of your channel. And without you, you wouldn't be where you are now. He calls you business partners, but best friends and roommates as well. And that you just work well together and have some good ideas too. So the business
Don't make me blush.
the business partners thing kind of caught my eye because I feel like you're kind of like me where we have our day jobs but we also do the content creation thing too. What makes House Hack Bowling a business rather than a hobby, or what do you consider it both?
It's definitely both. I mean, there is a business side to it, but like we're not definitely going out to try to get rich from it. We both have very serious day jobs, and we kind of use House Hack Bowling as an escape. But now a lot of people kind of like look to it as their escape as well because we run our own tournaments. We do provide like entertainment to get people like throughout the day, throughout the weekend, stuff like that. I don't necessarily, like I said, I mean, business is one thing. I've never necessarily classified it as a business because I actually have fun doing this. And it's just kind of a hobby that I take too serious, if that makes sense.
Sure. No,
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing because, like I said, you've got some great content out there. You want to take a crack at Derek? He's kind of coming at you with is Austin at Dairy Queen? His stream freezes so much you can make ice cream.
Yeah, it's computer issues, but I'm slowly getting it worked out.
Yeah.
I thought I had everything worked out earlier today, but here we are. But now should be good.
Yeah, for sure. Let me pull up this picture that you sent along. So we've got you and Matt, but who are the other two guys?
So that is actually the senior tweener himself, Tony Klein. I'm pretty sure that this picture from last year, this was the week that he won our weekly summer eliminator series. It's something that we started to do it last year during the summer to give people something to bowl in. And the guy on the left of him, his name is Braden. He bowls a lot of our events around here. He was very heavy on with the eliminator series the first year that we did it. He just bowls now, but we still see him all the time for bowling. We talk a lot, but that's just really we're all friends.
Yeah. Seems like you have a pretty good time with it. Do they have involvement in the channel, or are they super fans?
I would say super fans. That picture was actually one of the winning weeks. So one thing that we do, and it's one thing that I really like push and try to tell people is that like social media is a real big thing. So when we do like the eliminator series, we always take pictures with the winners. We take a group shot. We take individual shots. I record as many of like shots while they're bowling as possible, and I post them so people can like have them and do whatever they want to do with it. So that was actually one of the winning weeks, and Tony Klein, our senior tweener, which he likes to call himself, was the winner of that week.
Ah, gotcha. Well, speaking of the Eliminator Series, that's going on right now, and I got to ask how that kind of came about, because it looks really cool from, for those of us who can kind of see it from afar and can't
Yeah.
attend. But tell me how that all came to be, and what it's like to run a tournament like that.
It's funny because how it started. So we was going to bowl a summer league once our draft league was over. It was run by one of the guys that bowls here, and he ended up not running it because he had other work things that he had to take care of. And I think that one of the centers, it was going to be like a travel league, and one of the centers kind of backed out. And it was funny because like one of the guys in that picture, Braden, he said that he wanted to run his own like league or whatever through like House at Bowling, and kind of use it as like the main like name or face or whatever. And I said, yeah, we can do that, because he's actually the one who came up to me and said, I think we need to try to do this. And I said, let me talk to Matt. Let me see what we can think of. And honestly, Eliminator Series was the first name that came to my head. Typically, names are one of the hard thing to kind of come up with, especially in like the content game or like little things here and there. So like when it just, when it came to me, I didn't even think of renaming it. I just kind of was like, you know what, we're rolling with it. Not to mention, like, when we was coming up with the Eliminator Series and, like, getting into it, we had 7 days because of when the league was going to start. We had, like, a week notice.
Wow.
So we used social media as much as possible, and we didn't really post that much in the bowling center because, like, I just didn't know how well that would do in such a short amount of time. So I'm, like, sharing it to all the bowlers in their area. I'm making all these little videos about it. Trying to think what we do. Basically just word of mouth. And we ended up our first week, I think we had like 25 bowlers. It's all singles and it's 4 games. After the 4 games, you get put in the match play. So it was definitely worth, in my opinion, the $20-25 we paid for the first year.
Yeah.
And it's funny because like it was one of those things that like when it got brought to our attention to do it, I was like, man, I really don't know if I want to do this. I kind of just want to bowl in something that like I kind of like get a little break, just have some fun. But honestly, I do have a lot of fun doing the Eliminator Series. Matt kind of takes the more business route of that. Like he's like, look, I don't want to bowl, I just want to run it. And I said that's cool because like the first year we did it, we was like, okay, but if we need bowlers, I think we need to bowl. So I bowled every week, and Matt kind of bowled here and there. And this year, Matt was like, look, I don't want to bowl in this. I just want to be able to run it, make sure everything goes smoothly. If you want to bowl, you can. So I've bowled like 4 of the 5 weeks we've done so far. And it's kind of just how we treat it. Like it's something fun to do on a Thursday night. You make some money that night. You get paid out that night. And it's just like a way to kind of promote us and just like get people something to bowl in that's scratch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And looks like somebody here, Biddle78, says they've bowled in the Eliminator last year. Such a good time, and the competition is no joke. That's got to feel good to hear comments like that.
Well, Bill's still in here. We still got like 3 weeks left. You need to come out and bowl. He keeps telling me he's going to come out and bowl, but he has not came since.
Yeah. No, I mean, with the summertime being kind of the off season for bowling, to have something that is not only off to a good start, but by all accounts seems to be growing, has got to be kind of neat to have built that from the ground up.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because like one thing that we really used to try to promote it at first was it's not a commitment. I mean, it's set up like a league, but it's not a league. Because I mean, one thing that kind of turns away a lot of bowlers, in my opinion, is the commitment to do something for so many weeks. And I wanted to try to find a way to honestly attract them, but give them like, well, you know what, I'll come bowl. And, if I got to go out of town for like work next week, or if I got a vacation the week after that, I don't have to be here. But I will say, though, like a majority of people that tell me like they like the non-commitment side of the thing, they still show up every week.
Yeah.
Sure. And they like make it a point to like, okay, well, I actually have a friend named Chris. He's going out of town, I think in first week of July, and he told me that he made it a point where he'd be back in town just to bowl our last week.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's cool. That is a good segue to the kind of the next thing I wanted to bring up, which was this podcast style set of videos that you guys started doing called Strike a Conversation. You mentioned kind of the segmented league season in this latest one, but tell me about that concept, how that was born, and how it's been going so far.
I mean, like everything else we started, it all starts with, hey, why don't we do this? And then we're like, yeah, we can do it. And it just kind of never really goes from there. A while back, Matt was like, I want to do a bowling podcast. This is, I think, before we started House Hat Bowling. Sure. And I've ran podcasts in the past, and it's something that I've always enjoyed doing, but it's also like nothing that really ever took off. But now that I have House Hat Bowling, it's kind of like a way to kind of get things started. And like gives it like a name that you can like put it behind. You know what I'm saying? Like
a brand.
Yes, a brand. And that's kind of at this point in time, it's kind of what I want House Hat to be, is its own brand, which is like with the shirts and stuff like that. But like with the podcast stuff, it's something that we kind of do at our free time. We kind of let people pick the topics. If we have something we want to talk about, we talk about it, because like I'm very opinionated when it comes to like anything that I do, and then like especially in bowling, because bowling can be super opinionated and people like to pick sides, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do have my own opinions about things, and things that need to be changed, things that need to be focused more on, things we need to actually like try to grow the sport. And that's kind of what the podcast is about. We just talk about a little bit of everything, and some people like the conversation, some people kind of get mad about some of the topics we choose, but it is what it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I love the interactive part where you let the guests, the viewers, pick the topics, because that gives people some equity in it.
But we could go live, and it's something that we might like try to work with in the future. But right now we're kind of letting people just comment, because like I said, we kind of do it in our free time. We do so much during the week with work and all the other stuff with House Hat Bowling that sometimes it's just really hard to get me and him together, even though we live in the same apartment. It's sometimes hard to get us all to sit together and just like, all right, let's get like an hour of our time doing nothing, and we'll just do a podcast. Because like with the Eliminator Series stuff.
Question. 1 hour plus 0.5 is 1 hour and 30 minutes.
Hi, ALEXA.
Yeah, I know, right?
You can find it on
I'm trying to figure out what I said to even mention her name.
Just say,
hey, Alexa, stop. There we go. So creepy. But anyway. But yeah, like even like during the Eliminator stuff, like when we do we record the final match every week, we are now starting to do commentary for it. So we will like do commentary afterwards. We record it ourselves, and we just basically we have fun. We talk crap and try to give people like an interest to watch it. Like even though as much as I do love watching bowling, I understand why people just don't want to sit there and watch someone bowl a game. I try to find a way to make it more entertaining.
Yeah.
But the podcast is kind of the same deal. Just like, how can I make bowling more entertaining for people who see bowling as just an escape from work? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's kind of what I try to focus House Hat Bowling on.
Yeah, kind of the deeper issues that affect us all when we're invested in this sport, because there are plenty of them. As far as the Strike a Conversation thing, is that exclusively on the channel, or do you put it on a podcast platform as well?
Right now, it's just exclusively on the channel. I have been talking to him about putting it through like Spotify and stuff like that. But right now, I'm just kind of focusing on the video every other week kind of thing with like YouTube. I would like to grow it, because like I think the podcast series is actually a really cool idea, and honestly everyone who's watched it tells me they really like the idea, like the story of what we're trying to do. But right now it's just YouTube, but I would like to venture off into other things eventually.
Yeah. No, I mean, and on the whole, I mean, after watching your videos, I find you guys to be pretty endearing, and I can't put my finger on why that is. If it's because I feel like you're kind of more like me than, say, the pros who do this kind of thing, or if it comes off more natural. Do you ever have those conversations and do that on purpose, or does that just kind of come off from the way you are?
I think it's just the way I am. Like I said, I am very opinionated when it comes to a lot of things, but I also am of the world of like, I got to find ways to make this more digestible to everyone, not just the people who are serious bowlers, not just like the ones who bowl once a week, the people who don't even really know what bowling is. I try to find ways to make it entertaining for anyone who just happens to come across it. So I think it has a lot to do with kind of like my background too, like of being an artist, and I used to perform a lot, and I would record a lot of different things. I've hosted different podcasts before. So I think it's just me. And I feel like Matt's really starting to come out of his shell, because he's kind of like reserved about a lot of things, and like tries to not say anything to, really spark an issue or a conversation. But he's starting to get to that point now to where like he wants to talk about whatever he believes in and wants to actually conversate about it.
Yeah.
So I'd definitely say it's just how we are.
Yeah. And that makes it work even better for sure. Tell me about the future of this. Where do you see this thing going? Are there any ultimate goals for house hack bowling that we haven't covered already? And how do you make them happen?
It's funny you say that, because like it's very it sounds super unprofessional when people say this, but we are super day by day people. Like we always want to grow. We always want to like find ways to get other people involved. But in reality, I mean, like there's a lot of things that we do that we just be sitting on the couch one day or at dinner just talking like, hey, I think we should try to do this. And then I'm like, okay, let's try it. And then it ends up becoming like one of our big things. Like the Eliminator series is an idea. Just getting on TikTok was like, hey, let's get on TikTok. Doing the podcast, running our own Beggar doubles tournaments, ball reviews. Like I remember, like at one point in time, we didn't even have a Facebook page. It was something like, I don't see why we hadn't even have a Facebook page. And I was like, but it can't hurt.
Right.
So like when I look into the future, I mean, I would love to be able to grow our merch game. It's something that I've like kind of really got an emotional attachment to. I used to do a lot of the shirts on insidebowling.com. So like it's one of those things that like I like being able to design shirts and design little things here and there. So I like to be able to grow that website. I like to be able to grow the podcast to where like I can go to like certain places and like, I don't know, sit down with like Belmo or something. Like honestly, like I look at different channels as like inspiration. Like I love Ben with Temp and Life with what he's been doing. I talked to him a lot about certain things. The Sweep the Rat guys. I mean, they are very, very. I like. I look up to like how opinionated they are, because that's like I feel the same way. I may not be as far as you guys are, and like it's not. I don't want to say stuck in their ways, but like they are just like how they look at bowling. But I respect it.
Mm-hmm.
And then like of course with like the Brad and Kyles and stuff, and then I got other people on YouTube like Luke Rosedahl, Luis Napolez. There's little people here and there that I consider friends that I kind of look up to, and like it's like I want to grow house hack bowling. I want to do like little bits of what they do, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So
yeah,
I don't know. It's a very loaded question for me to say. I don't know, but
no, but that's
how
cool.
I feel.
Because all the creators you just mentioned, I mean, I know their stuff. I may not know them personally, but like you said, Ben's stuff is great. Sweep the Rack is a hugely entertaining show. Napolis and Brad and Kyle, Beef and Barnsey. I mean, I feel like we're kind of on the same wavelength with that. And with all of our content, it gives people this, this robust set of not only opinions but information about bowling, so we all kind of play well off each other, I think.
Oh, definitely, man. Like the world is so big that, and I have had conversations with other like bowling content creators, and they kind of talk about like others and say like, I don't really like how they do a certain thing, or I really don't like how they go about this way. And I'm not going to mention names because it's just not important, but the world is so big that everyone can coexist. Oh yeah, Bone, and I do like Justin Bone's show. It actually is pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
But what was I going at? Oh yeah, the world is so big that like we can all coexist and all be successful. I mean, look at how many morning shows there are just about football, and they all do super well. So like everyone does something a little differently. And I think that's kind of what helps. The ones that typically don't really take off and do that well are the ones who try to direct copy somebody else.
Sure.
So that's kind of like my take on that. Like, I want there to be more bowling podcasts. I want there to be more bowling shows. You know how many times I'm at work and I just have like an AirPod in and I'm like, man, I want to listen to someone's thoughts on bowling, and I can only really go to like 3 different people.
Yeah.
It gets boring after a while. I mean, like, I want to hear what everyone thinks. Like the Pete Weber thing that just happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. I'm just like, man, I want to know people's thoughts on this. Yeah. I mean, I pretty much already know what they're going to say, but it's interesting.
Oh yeah, for sure. So you've seen this show enough where you know that we go off the sheet at the end, and that means we ask you to challenge somebody else. Doesn't have to be an incredibly highly skilled bowler, doesn't have to be a beginner. It can be any of those two or somewhere in between. We ask you to challenge somebody who has a passion for the sport and a unique bowling story to tell, which we all do. So, Austin Lockhart, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Okay, I'm gonna give you a couple.
Okay.
Actually, I'm gonna give you 3 because I think Matt needs to come on here one day.
Okay.
Matt has such an incredible, crazy story of coming up and like what he used to do compared to what he does now. I'd like to see him come on here one day. Another one I would like to see on here, Luke Rosedal. Big. I consider him one of the Godfather's goats of the Ball Review YouTube game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see him come on here and kind of tell his story. He's a very entertaining guy. I talk to Luke a lot, so I'd like to see him on here. And, of course, Luis Napoles. I work pretty closely with him on side things here and there, so I'd like to see him on here too.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 that I can think of off the top of my head.
One of our former guests, Will Welch, actually suggested that to Luis in a Facebook comment, and he seemed pretty receptive to it. So I like all those ideas, guys. If you're willing to take Austin up on his challenge, feel free to reach out. You can direct message me on Facebook or email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com, and we will make that happen. Our next show is actually coming up on Wednesday, and you mentioned Ben Glasscock. He has kind of a connection to this next guest. His name is Nathan Agan, and he actually was challenged by Ben to come on. They are working on a documentary series called As the Pins Fall. So Nathan is the director of that series, and he will be on coming up on a show that we're going to call Strikes Camera Action this Wednesday, June 15th at 6 p.m. Central. Hope you can all join us for that. Austin, it has been a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much for coming on, reaching out, sharing your bowling story, and continued success on the channel. We'll be watching.
Yeah, man, I only took like a month or so to get here, and then like my camera freezing up 3 different times. But hey, here we are.
If there's a will, there's a way, right?
Of course, the show must go on.
That's right. No, appreciate your time, and we appreciate all of you watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be just and fear not. We will see you again on Wednesday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Oop.